Well, hello there, friends. So today what we're going to be doing is some old school bucket seats. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be giving them an update and make them a little bit more modern with some other features I'm going to put into the seat. And you're going to see what that is here in a minute. So just stick around to the end. And I promise you, you're really going to like this one. So if you're a viewer on my channel, you'll know the first thing that we do, right? You're going to tell me here pretty soon how to do this because you've watched so many of these videos. Anyway, what is it? First thing we do is we take our white China marker. Okay, we take that and we mark all the intersections. You've seen this 100 times, right? Because we always do it this way. Nothing ever changes. We can see all the intersections right here. Just like that. You can see them. We mark them. So that way we know where they belong when it comes time to put them all back together again. It looks like we have one right here. Could be one right here. So this is just a reupholster, okay? So I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of restoration to the seat itself. We're just making seat covers. So for those of you that will criticize that I didn't do this or I didn't do that, you know, I always do what the customer asks. So I always end up with a happy customer that way. So what I will also do is I will make some of these marks because there's such a long span right here. I'll make some of these marks to help keep things aligned again when we go to sew it and put everything back together again. Not too many intersections on this seat. Not too bad. Guess I got them all. The second thing I do is I take Lucille, who is a serrated edged box cutter. So I literally take a grinder to that blade and give it a serrated edge like that. And that's what helps cut the threads. So I'm just going to continue to do this all the way around. I know. It's a messy one, so much for my nice white table, huh? So this is the color that the customer picked out for the main portions of the seats, which is this dark brown. It's like a chocolate brown color. That's what we're going to be using. Now for technique number 78, what 78 is cutting out your largest pieces out of the roll of material first. So that way you know that you're not going to come up short when you need this big piece. So you just take that one out first. Yep, I had to make sure I had enough vinyl for the side panels for this vehicle, which you just saw. And also I am going to be doing a back seat. So let's go ahead and draw this first pattern right here for the bucket seat. For those of you who know my techniques, know technique number 48. That's why I leave everything here connected when I take everything apart. So that way I know easily how it all goes back together. So instead of having pieces laying all over the place, then you're trying to figure out how to sew it back together. When you see this right here, it tells you no guessing. So now would be a great time to hit that like button. So like. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yep. Yep. So I am making two of everything because there is a left and a right seat. So being that this is old school, this left seat is actually just like the right seat. Left and right seat is really the same. It's not a mirror image like on most modern cars, where the left seat is unique to the compared, I guess you'd say it's unique for the driver's side as well as unique for the passenger side. But here, you don't have to worry about that because in the old days, it really was a standard. Literally, it was a standard. Left and right seats were even the same. So I'm going to be making two of everything. So now is a good time to share with you my technique number 74. 74 is when I have a piece like this takes the scrim back foam on the back side. What I do is I go ahead and mark it out like you normally would. Just like that. But this is the technique. So what I do is I cut about 1/4 of an inch or so on the outside of my mark. And I'm going to be sewing on top of that line. And then we'll trim the excess off afterwards. So what I'll be doing is I'll be sewing on the white line. After it's sewed, I'll be cutting next to the white line like this to get rid of what we don't need. And then we end up with our pattern. So I'm just going to continue to cut and make patterns. Now this is where I'm going to change it up a little bit. So these are the seat inserts. This is the backrest insert right here. What we had talked about was doing a center insert right here in a lighter color tan. So it'll be the brown, the tan, in the brown. So I'll go ahead and separate these. Then I'll use this here as a pattern. So I make mistakes all the time. Don't let me fool you. Okay, even though I've been doing this for so long. So what I did is I accidentally used the wrong seat. So I was supposed to use this better seat here for patterns. Okay, but what I did is I got so anxious in starting that I started taking apart the worst seat instead of the best seat. So the best seat here has the better patterns. So that gets to technique number 5845 is making patterns from bad patterns. So what we have here is we have a lot of shrinkage going on right here. So there's really like about an inch of material missing here. So what I'm going to do is I'll just mark it here, and I'll mark it here, and I'll bridge a straight line right there. And now for the seat inserts. So this is the material that the customer chose. If you can read it there, ostrich tan auto vinyl. Let's take a look and see what that looks like. Yep, tan ostrich auto vinyl. There you go. So because of the bumps, we have a lot of bumps here, which is going to kind of want to knock off my needle. So instead of doing a double pleat stitch like that, it's just going to be a single stitch. So I'm just measuring, basically I'll make them about 3.5 inches here. And that's why I'm going to draw them out on this vinyl. So normally what I would do is I would take the bottom cushion like this and the backrest cushion insert like that, and I would lay them this direction and then just mark here, and then make my lines this way. But because I'm a little limited on this vinyl here because I still have a back seat to do, I'm going to be positioning them this direction. So the reason I do this one is so that way we're always guaranteed to have the same exact measurement. So if I go this way, it's another way of doing it. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. The thing is I just have to be a little bit extra careful and make sure I got my measurements are correct. So I'm going to go 3.5 on the pleats here and here, 3.5 here, and 3.5 here. So the measurement on your project may be different. But I'm just doing this so that way you'll know what to do. You just adjust it to your project. Now for the center inserts, what we want is some really nice deep pleats that we're going to be sewing in here. So what I have here is 1/2 inch foam. You can see the thickness right there, right? So anyway, let's go ahead and just start cutting that out. Now look at that. Now we're ready to do some sewing. We're going to sew up those inserts. Now for all of the other panels and the facing panels and also the side panels, I'm going to be using this stuff here. This is the 1/4 inch scrim right there. You can see this back in here is tough as nails. People ask me where I get this from, and I usually just tell them that you can buy scrim at your area upholstery supplier. If not, I get mine from Keyston Brothers, and they have locations all across the USA, and they ship. Okay, so let's just start sewing up some seat inserts and a bunch of seat panels. So here, I'm going to show you a really nifty trick. So remember we had 3.5 inch pleats here? Okay, so what I usually do is when I go to sew parts back together again, I will have like the insert and then the 2 side panels that I'm going to be sewing together. So this is it. If you sew this top side here, okay, you have no idea what the width of the pleat is because you have it covered. You can't see it, right? Okay, so this is what I do, and this is technique number 423. So what I do is, you see here, okay, well, it looks like about 3 3 3/8 if you want to get technical about it. Okay, so let's just go with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mark almost 3.5 right there. That's what I'm really going to do. I'm going to stick with my 3.5 stuff. So 3.5, 3.5. Okay, I'm going to draw the line right there. So now I have a line to sew on. So what I do now is, instead of sewing it this direction where it's blind, you have no idea what the width is. Now, if you just flip it over, it's that easy. You have a line to sew on right here. So I'm going to show you exactly how that's done now. So now I'm just going to sew right on top of that black line. Pocket stitch as always. Okay, here we go. So now this is what I'm talking about. Okay, so remember, technically, if you want to do it the rocket science way, it's 3 3/8. right there is the width of that pleat. 3 3/8. Okay, so look what happens here now. 3 3/8. Right here. 3 3/8. 3 3/8. 3 3/8. So that means that these outer pleats are the same width as the middle pleat here, and that's what we were trying to achieve, and that's what we did. So now you know. Good old technique number 423. So now the rest of it is going to just be the assembly of all the parts. Well, you see that mark right there? I match it up to that intersection like we marked in the very beginning of this video. So I mark it on the back as well as the front, right there. And that's where I start sewing, right there at that intersection. That way I know it's exactly where it needs to be. And then we have the listing. So I buy myself a roll of listing like this. What that is it's folded in half like that. I just cut the length that I need and sew that on where it takes listing, which is right here. So now that I have the backrest all sewn up, I'm going to move on to the bottom cushion. So the bottom cushion is the same principle. So I'm not going to bore you guys with all that because you basically already just saw it. So here I go. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I'll see you here on the other side. Now I'm making my own welt cord listing. Looks like 5/32. It's a welt cord insert. And I'm going to put this into the listing. Okay, so now it's time to put the covers on. So I'm going to do the bottom cover first. So there's no listing here. So what I use instead of listing, because it didn't have it before, is I'll just use some glue here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the glue down in this channel right here. So that way when I glue it down, I can press it and it'll give this pleat here more definition. Okay, let's go ahead and just put this on. Looks like that's where it was before. Okay, now we're putting the backrest together. So here we go with the before and the after. Yay! Well, my friends, until next time, we'll see ya.